Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to give you an absolute masterclass on how to go about structuring analogies on your high ticket sales calls so that you can close more deals. And when I say this is a masterclass, I genuinely mean it, right? Like I had to think about whether or not I actually wanted to put this up onto YouTube because the information in this video is so insanely valuable. But that's the whole purpose of this channel. So I thought, fuck it. Anyway, enjoy. In terms of structuring analogies, I'm still formulating a framework in my head that will be repeatable for all of you. But the first thing that you're doing is you're trying to identify the base principle, the base assumption, the base belief that the prospect has, which is generally what we're doing when it comes to objection handling already, right? Then what you're doing is you're trying to discern whether or not that belief is substantiated, whether it actually makes sense for them to believe what they believe. This is not a question that you're asking the prospect. It is a question that you are asking yourself. If the answer to your question to yourself is no, then you are looking for a similar situation. You're looking for a situation that is similar to the one that the prospect has brought up. I'll explain this in more depth so that you can juxtapose it, so that you can provide, how else can I say juxtapose? Something that is opposite to that situation, right? Now, once you've found something that is opposite to it, you want to look for areas where you can strengthen the similarities between the two situations, okay? Then, once you have done that, you're gonna ask to dive into the analogy. And instead of just going straight from, here's the analogy, do you agree with me? You're asking a series of logical questions, and I can't give you what do these logical questions look like because it's always going to be dependent on the analogy. But you're just doing it as slowly as possible so that the prospect is able to follow you to the conclusion. You're leaving breadcrumbs, questioning breadcrumbs, right? Let's call it that. And then once you've got confirmation that the prospect agrees that it doesn't make sense, then you loop it back to the original situation. That's how the framework looks in my head at the moment. There are still a few gaps, but it's good enough. So to explain it once again from the top now, with examples, let's go for a really simple example. Prospect has the belief that them getting a coach is not going to help them, but they don't have any experience in place. That's the base belief. Question that I'm asking myself is, if I were to have a coach in place and I had zero experience, would it or would it not make sense? It would make sense. So their belief is faulty. Now I'm looking for a situation where someone would have a coach, have zero experience, needs to be every day. This is an important part actually. Needs to be every day so you know it's going to be applicable. What is a similar situation where someone would have a coach and they know that it would make sense? So we could go down the angle of having a PT. We could go down the angle of a famous sports person having a coach. We could go down the angle of what is something that you are interested in. They say football. I use Ronaldo as the example for the coach, right? Out of those three options, the third one is the best because it's going to be more relatable because I am structuring the analogy around the prospect. Everyone following me so far? Okay, so I then ask the question. I now know where I'm going. I then ask the question. I know that this is a little bit of a curveball question, Sabir, but do you play any sports? I may try and lead the conversation in a particular direction if I don't know lots about sports. So I could open it up a little bit as well. Do you play any sports? Do you watch any sports? Say, for example, football or basketball. Me saying football or basketball is because I want to talk about those topics, right? Similar to with the role model reframe with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, okay? So now we get confirmation on that, right? So now we've got the point of similarity. Then I'm looking for ways to strengthen this. So I could tie in the investment piece. Let's say you had to invest money with getting a coach to help you with football, or we could lean into the fear aspect. Maybe you played football in the past, you got a bad injury, didn't get hired by the team that you want. I'm structuring the analogy now through the lens of the objection. Does this make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. So have you ever played football in the past? Yes, I have played football. Okay, and cool. How long have you been playing football for? Now I'm breadcrumbing the questions. I've been playing football for this amount of time. Okay, now I have clarity. Let's say he says 6 years. That doesn't work within the context of the analogy because they need to have no experience, right? So do you remember when you first started playing football, what that was like? Now I'm taking them back to that state of, I have no experience. Yeah, I do. Did you find it difficult? Now I'm leaning into the illogic of their belief, right? Because they're saying this is not going to be difficult. I don't need a coach. Let's see what they respond to this. Did you find it difficult? Like, did you struggle with dribbling, shooting, being able to get past defenders? Yeah, I did. So now I've got the hook. I've got them bought in to the analogy, right? So now I'm continuing to breadcrumb the questions and I'm starting to flesh out the analogy. Okay, so let's say, for example, and when you first started playing, did you have like aspirations of becoming a better footballer, like playing for Sunday league team, semi-pro team, a professional team? What does that look like? Now I'm tying it back to this aspect of you wanting to grow the business. You want to get to 10K, you want to get to 20K, you want to grow, right? Yes, I did. Okay, well, let's say, now I'm taking them back to the situation of being inexperienced. Let's say, for example, you have two different pathways in front of you, Sabet. In one situation, you're just practicing by yourself for 3 hours a day. You're going down to the pitch, you're kicking the ball around, practicing dribbling, you're practicing shooting, and you do that consistently for a year. In another situation, you also go down to the pitch, you're practicing for 3 hours, you're kicking the ball around, practicing shooting, practicing dribbling, but you have Ronaldo teaching you how to become a better football player. In which binary option, so that I can control the conversation, in which scenario do you think that you would make more improvement? Well, yes, in the situation where Ronaldo is involved. Now I've got confirmation of the reframe. 1 second, Sabet. Now I've got confirmation of the reframe with the analogy. All I have to do is tie it back to the current situation. Okay, well, it's kind of the same thing with this, right? Like when it comes to booking appointments and doing sales calls and knowing how to do your service delivery, in the same way, you're going to have an expert to help you with that. Or in fact, the other way around. In the same way that Ronaldo would be teaching you how to be better at dribbling, shooting, and passing the ball, with this, you're going to have an expert helping you with appointment booking, with sales, and with service delivery. Do you see where I'm coming from? Yes.
Can we also add there some scientific facts? Like, let's say, yeah, this is exactly this, because the likelihood, there is a data that the likelihood is like 72% is higher when you have a coach that you will be successful.
We could, but a lot of the time it's too logical. It's not a good enough frame of reference.
Okay.
If you can get the prospect to envision themselves in another situation and applying that logic to a different situation, that jump, I promise you, will be instant. It'll be like, oh, you'll hear this all the time on the call. They'll be like, oh, okay, actually, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Because there's a gap in the logic, probably from this the stance of emotion, because money is involved, whatever it might be. So you don't necessarily need to take it to that extent. Aaron.
Yeah, for people who don't necessarily want to agree with you, and maybe early on they recognize like what you're pointing at, what do they do? Are they just like, oh, but that's not the same, or do they just not agree with you, or like how does
that's your fault? If it's not the same, it means you structured a bad analogy.
Okay.
It should be the same. It should be the same, so that there is no room for, well, that doesn't quite make sense. In this scenario, that's not the same would be, I'm again just giving you a basic analogy so I can teach you. In this analogy, that's not the same would be, yeah, but that's Ronaldo. Are you saying that your coaches are Ronaldo? So the way to bypass that is, instead of using Ronaldo, you would say, let's imagine you were getting coached by a Premier League football player, right? Because now that becomes a lot more believable. If you're saying, hey, the coaches that we have closed X million, tens of millions of dollars in deals, that's, in my opinion, that's kind of like Premier League, right? So they can't give you pushback on that. And this is where I'm saying that step, once you understand where you're going and then you're tying it together to make it even more concrete, is really important.
Yeah, I think my question, I phrased it badly, but I think really what I was kind of trying to figure out was, do people normally give you, because I've never done an analogy, do they give you resistance when you try to go down this path, or do they don't? Okay.
Because you're thinking, this is where you have to train this. You're thinking 3-4 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead in the conversation. Most people, when they're having a conversation, they're not thinking 5 steps ahead, right? So they don't even see it coming. And by the time they're caught in the logic trap, it's too late. There's no way to get out.
Fair.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. Okay, so that's how it works. Let's role play this quickly. So the objection is, what is a frequent objection you guys are facing right now?
I'm not sure if it works.
But why?
Yeah, because I never done that before.
Okay, perfect. The core objection is, I'm not sure that this is going to work because I've never done it before.
Yeah.
Okay, would you rather each one of you goes around the room and you give me an analogy, or would you rather I ask each one of you to break down what is happening at each step so you understand it more concretely?
Yeah, I think the breakdown. Just to make
okay.
sure, yeah.
Let's do breakdown. So the core objection is, I'm not sure that this is going to work because I've never tried it.
Yeah.
What is the prospect actually saying, Ruben? What are they actually saying that?
They're fearful whether it will work for them or not.
Yes. But how can I explain this?
They're skeptical around your product and offering as well, whether it can get them results.
Everything that you're saying is correct. What I'm more getting at is, what they're saying is, I am not willing to do this because I haven't tried it before. That's basically that's our base principle. Yeah. I am not willing to do things that I have not tried before. That's the belief, the core base belief of the objection. Do you guys understand that? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Aaron, position that question to yourself. Logically, does that make sense? That you are not willing to do something just because you have never tried it before?
No. Logically, it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. So now we have grounds to be like, okay, now we can dive into an analogy. So now we need to look for something which would be appropriate for this analogy. So what is an example of an analogy you could give where someone has to maybe invest some money and they're saying, I wouldn't invest money into this because I've never tried it. And you are looking for something that juxtaposes that is the opposite of that.
Yeah, comes to mind of maybe like trying a new experience with friends or something like that. They've done it before. They're trying to say you should try it, kind of thing.
Okay, we can develop upon this. Aaron, an example?
Learning to drive a car, or the holiday one.
Yeah. In this situation, I would go holiday. It's super simple. You know that pretty much everybody is going to say I've been on holiday, right? So let's use holiday as the example. How now can we make the holiday analogy more aligned with this core concern of, I'm not going to do this because I haven't tried it, knowing that there is an investment involved. That's outside. That's me talking outside. There is an investment involved. How can we make the analogy more watertight?
I think you have to ask them, have they previously been on any holidays or or try and lock down their past experience of Miranda?
Yes, but the money piece, how do we account for the money piece? Given that the investment is 5K.
Booking the hotel and everything, they need to do it, right?
Yes. When you go on holiday, Aaron, how much do you spend?
About 400 euros, cheap as possible.
Ruben, when you go on holiday, how much do you spend?
Yeah, anything around £1,000.
Okay, cool. So we have a massive gap, right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about anywhere between $400 to $1,000, but I'm asking you for 5K. So what do we need to do with this holiday analogy?
Oh, it's luxury holiday,
exactly.
Something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So now we have, I don't want to make this too complicated because this is really advanced stuff. So now, yes, we're structuring it. It's not just a holiday, it's a luxury holiday. Have you ever wanted to go on a luxury holiday to Dubai, Mauritius, Maldives, etc.? Everybody's going to say yes. You know everyone's going to say yes, right? And then we can just keep developing upon it, breadcrumbing from that, okay? I'm not going to go through more of this. Sabir, I know that you want to have an attempt at doing an analogy. So we'll go to that, and then after we'll go to some self-role. So that's it. Obviously, I can't give you everything. If you want to learn more advanced high-ticket sales strategies, there is a link below for you to book a call. If you are still doubtful whether or not I can help you, I mean, there's my link to my website down below as well with hundreds, literally hundreds of case studies, testimonials, screenshots of testimonials, interviews that you can have a look at. Last thing, if you like the video, like the video. If you don't like the video, don't like it. If you want to follow me so you can get more high-ticket sales advice. But other than that, enjoy yourself and have a great day.